Before I complete the second part of my video, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 7 deadly habits of truly miserable people. These habits are things people do every day, and what they don't realize when they do them is that they are destroying the relationships of people they're close to. We all do them, and it's innate to some degree, but the key to changing yourself from doing these things is to start noticing. When you start noticing, you can start correcting. All human misery is caused by not having good, solid relationships in your life. Think about it. When we were hunter-gatherers, you were like with 50 to 100 other individuals. You depended on each other. You all knew each other. That's not how it is today. We're kind of isolated, so things are different. Now, in order to get what we want, we use our verbal communication. And we do some pretty awful things. We nag, we complain, we blame, we criticize, we threaten, we punish, and we reward to control. All of these habits are surefire ways to destroy any relationship you might have, just so long as you do them enough, because they're all subtle forms of angering to get what you want. And people have a need for freedom, and they're going to pick up on what you're doing, and they're going to buck back. And pretty soon, you're both going to be at odds with each other, which isn't what you wanted in the first place. So, what can you do instead? Well, stay tuned. I'll tell you about the 7 caring habits, or look them up online. Generally, the common sense definition of behavior is he's behaving or he's being a bad boy, something like that. But I'm going to ask you to think about behavior as meaning anything a person does. From breathing to watching this video is a form of behavior. The concept I want to introduce you to is the idea of total behavior, that our behavior has 4 parts that all happen all at once. Those parts, we have direct control over some, but only indirect control over the others. Now, we have direct control over how we act. As much as some of us would like to say we can't control it, deep down, we know we can control it. All right, we can control not having to deck somebody because we're angry. We can control that. We can also control our thinking about things. We can decide what we think for ourselves. We have full control of faculty of our mind. Now, what we don't have direct control over are our feelings and our physiology. Our physiology meaning like our heart rate, adrenaline, hormones, that sort of thing. But believe it or not, we do have some control of our physiology. When a Buddhist monk meditates, they're able to slow down their heart rate. They're able to change their emotional state. So we do have some degree of control of those things, just not as much as we would like. So if you're upset about something, you have to ask yourself, well, why am I upset? Well, I'm upset because I'm frustrated. I feel like I don't have power, for example. And then when you go from there, when you don't have power, you don't have, your body is going to react to that by upsetting somehow, miserably somehow. Maybe you'll be depressed because you don't have power, or maybe you'll be panicked because you don't have power, or maybe you'll be sick because you don't have power, because our physiology and our feelings are tied together. So if you feel sick, sometimes that's because you're emotionally ill. Now, we have direct control over our thinking, our feeling. Now, it's up to us and our big 8 brains to figure it out. Okay, there has to be a way out of the situation in some way where I won't have to feel that way anymore. So when you're depressed and maybe you lost a pet, and maybe you decide you're going to go to the zoo and volunteer and help with the animals there, because that way you're out there, you're working with animals, you feel that love with those animals, and you don't have to worry about how you feel so much. You can heal. So but if you just want to sit at home and depress, well, you're not going to get any better. You're going to feel miserable. And the longer you do it, the worse it's going to feel. Till finally you go to some head shrinker and he says, oh my gosh, you need some medication. You're wrong. You're imbalanced. It's a serious medical condition, this depression. Don't believe me? Check this out. All right, I'm just going to scratch the surface on this, but this is probably the most disgusting thing I have ever seen. They have turned depression into a medical condition that, guess what? You need Prestige for. All right? It's not that your life's just shitty and you're not doing anything to fix it. It's that you have a chemical imbalance. You need that thing back there. They can wind you up, and then you are going to feel like $1,000,000. It's going to be great. It only costs $300. You know, how is this any different than a dope dealer on a corner? You know, I went to a psychiatrist once, and after I was done, he asked me about my problems, right? You know, and I've seen psychologists before, and so I'm starting to tell him about my problems, and whatnot. He doesn't even look like he cares. He's got this like this clipboard, and he's just like, he's like, all right. And he's almost trying to stop me. He's like, okay, I understand. Okay, like he doesn't want to listen to it. And then at the end, what does he do? He goes like, well, it looks like you might have depression, possibly bipolar, or and if you go to another strength, guess what? You're gonna get a different diagnosis. You have seasonal affective disorder, like. And then he's gonna say, "Well, what would you like?" This guy actually asked me, all right, $270. Go in there. He asks me, well, what would you like? We can, I can do an SSRI, or we could try a little Paxil, or I'm like, what are you? Some sort of, dope dealer? I mean, you're asking me what I want? Aren't you the doctor? Aren't you supposed to tell me what I need? And where does this diagnosis come from? I mean, does it come from like nowhere? And you know what? If you look it up, they all come from a book called the DSM, all right, which is the complete opposite of choice theory. The DSM says that you are the product of the chemicals in your brain. That the chemicals in your brain drive your behavior, and that if they give you the right chemicals in the form of pills, they will fix you. All right. If anyone thinks they can fix a person, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. It's like saying, well, I'm going to tune that violin for good. What? Anyway, you can definitely see that psychiatry is not really what it's cracked up to be, and that you have a lot more control and a lot more power over yourself than you think. You have direct control over your thinking and acting, so you can drag yourself out of anything if you're imaginative enough.